Right now on the National Weather Desk, bring on the rain. The wet weather is welcome news across dry Texas.
Some benefits there as well of getting rid of some of that drought condition.
Olympic heat. Could soaring temperatures burn the Paris Games?
Heat waves threaten spectators and athletes in the city.
Whale of a tale. A humpback shows up in a New England river while a great white shark lingers off the coast of Maine.
It's out there and it is a juvenile.
The future of NOAA. Project 2025 proposes getting rid of the science agency. We'll ask the former administrator what he thinks.
Mission is way too essential to the U.S. economy and the safety of all the citizens.
And is there really any danger to taking a shower during a thunderstorm?
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. This is shaping up to be a very rainy week in parts of the South, especially Texas. And this is very good news because they really need that rain. The radar from Texas this morning shows another line of storms, showers moving across the state. In some places, there's a chance of rain every day for the next week. Now, you can see the overcast skies are already threatening San Antonio this morning. As Jamal Kennedy reports, the water will help lakes and also rivers across the region.
Several forecast models show rain will fall often this week across central Texas, which Paul Ura with the National Weather Service says could be a good thing.
I think what's going to happen with this type of weather pattern is actually the beneficial rains.
Ura says the rain could have positive environmental impacts to the hill country and areas west of I-35, which desperately need it.
Hopefully several days of pockets of heavy rainfall, so some benefits there as well of getting rid of some of that drought condition.
When it comes to the lakes and rivers, though, he says it's too early to tell if there'll be much impact because they're not sure where the rain will fall or how much. Texas native Shira Umansky is hopeful, though, it'll be beneficial to Lake Travis.
I've never seen Lake Travis look like that. I could see like islands in the middle of the lake.
The upcoming rain could also pose a flooding risk. So Ura reminds people to be prepared.
I think these are going to be rainmakers, and so it doesn't take 5 inches of rain or 7 inches of rain to cause big problems.
At least 6 homes have been destroyed by brush fire in Riverside, California. As of last night, the fire has burned more than 500 acres and was 40% contained. But unlike many other brush and wildfires, this one was not sparked by lightning. Officials say people using illegal fireworks started the fire. Damage is estimated at $10 million. Firefighters aren't just fighting the flames, they're also dealing with temperatures, in triple digits. The National Interagency Fire Center says there are about 70 wildfires burning across the country this morning, and that's why air quality alerts are now posted in multiple states, including California, Oregon, and also Washington State. The fires have destroyed more than 1 million acres of land, and some of that smoke has moved east. NOAA posted this satellite image on its Facebook page yesterday. It shows Monday's sunrise in the northern part of the country. As you can see, a stark contrast between the bright white clouds there to the east and the hazy, grayish wildfire smoke further north and also west. Air quality in those areas is considered moderate. The worst air quality is in the northern Rockies and also western Canada. And tracking the tropics this morning, there is some good news here. The National Hurricane Center says there are no storms right now, and none are expected for at least a week. One reason is the Sahara dust layer. There are large plumes of dust that start in the African desert and move across the Atlantic to the United States. Now, the dust keeps the air more stable by discouraging thunderstorm development. But when that dust settles just next month, the tropics could get busy once again. Now, one model suggests a more favorable environment for hurricanes will arrive in August. And Olympic organizers won't have to worry about hurricanes, but heat is a major concern at the Games, which get underway in Paris this week. Derek Van Dam shows us how the weather could play a major role in Europe's most vulnerable city to heat.
Extreme weather fueled by increasing temperatures may be one of the event organizers' toughest challenges. While rain could postpone the events, heat waves threaten spectators and athletes in the city. This year's games will take place around the same period of the year as France's most lethal heat wave in 2003.
It was the worst event we had in France overall, and especially in Paris here. Paris is vulnerable because we have a very big urban heat effect.
Because Paris is such a densely populated city, heat is amplified by various surfaces like asphalt, concrete, and even buildings. While extreme heat is just one element monitored here, forecasters from Meteo France will use an arsenal of tools to warn of any incoming severe weather.
It's like rain detection at street level.
This little-known device could determine whether or not an Olympic event is postponed or canceled. It is the mobile radar that measures rain in real time, so Meteo France forecasters can advise the Olympic Committee.
If the threshold for a given sport is exceeded, postponement or calendar adaptation or the worst cancellation could happen.
The last time Paris hosted the Olympics in 1924, the French capital was 5.5 degrees cooler than it is today, helping fuel the climate with more extreme weather.
And speaking of the heat, the West will bake once again, with many cities seeing triple-digit temperatures. Check out these numbers right here. You have 112 degrees in Las Vegas, 112 also in Phoenix, 111 in Fresno, California, and 108 in Boise, Idaho. In all, more than 32 million Americans are facing some sort of heat alert today. Several parts of the country are also dealing with drought, even though they have seen some rain recently. Let's turn to meteorologist Steve Rudin for a look at the latest update.
Much of the country remains under at least some form of a drought. We'll start you off on the East Coast, where we have a severe drought, make that extreme drought for parts of the Mid-Atlantic, including West Virginia, Panhandle of West Virginia, even at the D.C. metro area. Farther south you go, South Carolina, North Carolina, even North Georgia under drought conditions. Extreme droughts over toward the south and west, over toward El Paso, Texas, and then even the Pacific Northwest. Much needed wet weather is needed. Now, they're going to see a little bit of rain as we move into the rest of the week and into the weekend, but not a whole lot. You see the lighter greens, only about 1/10 of an inch, if even that. And then as we head down to the south over toward Texas, the heaviest the rain closer to the Gulf of Mexico, where they really need the wet weather. They're definitely not going to find a whole lot. I'm meteorologist Steve Rudin from WJLA in Washington, D.C.
And for the past week, an 8-foot great white shark has been lingering off the coast of Maine. At times, it's been pretty close to the shore. As Anna Kuhn reports, officials are warning local swimmers to take precautions if they are getting into the water.
What do you say, about 6-7 feet?
In fact, it was an 8-foot great white shark that had been spotted swimming near Maine's shoreline for about a week.
I do think it's kind of cool. I do, as long as nobody gets hurt.
Maine saw its first deadly shark attack 4 years ago when a great white off the coast of Harpswell killed 63-year-old Julie D'Imperio Hollowak. Since then, some swimmers have changed their ocean habits.
I thought to myself, first of all, very sad and tragic, and but that I also thought I don't want to swim in waters with deep channels underneath. So that was like my way of kind of convincing myself to not get out of the ocean, but swim safely.
Scarborough's harbor master is urging similar caution with recent shark sightings.
We just want to make sure that people are fully aware that it's out there, and it is a juvenile, and there have been other issues with them in the past, so we're just making sure that people are aware.
The beaches are still open and you can swim here, but Maine's Department of Marine Resources says you should follow these shark safety tips, like don't wear shiny jewelry in the water, stay close to the shore, and avoid murky waters. Plus, you should always try to swim in a group.
The harbor master says it's not unusual to see sharks in Maine, especially with fishing bait in the water, but again is asking swimmers to be aware.
Also in Maine, a humpback whale was spotted in a river along their border with New Hampshire. The first sightings were earlier this month. Now, officials aren't sure about the gender or even the age of this whale, but it could be a couple of years old. It's not uncommon to see whales in the water near Maine, but one being this close to the harbor in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, is attracting a lot of attention.
Well, I mean, different. We don't generally get a whale in that close, and that big a one, this, in the river especially.
And there is some concern with this whale being so close to shore. Once again, heavy boat traffic and a large amount of fishing in the area could lead to the whale getting hit by a vessel or getting tangled up in one of those lines. And for all of the latest, most up-to-date weather content, be sure to check us out on social media. You can find us on all of your favorite platforms by searching the National Weather Desk. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll talk with a former head of NOAA about the Project 2025 plan that suggests eliminating that agency, and we'll show you how lightning can still be a danger even when you are in your own home.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
There's been a lot of buzz in the news and on social media lately about the conservative political plan Project 2025. Among its goals is dismantling of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, including the National Weather Service. Now, Emily Gracie spoke to the former head of NOAA during the Trump administration to learn about the important functions of the organization and also why he thinks it's too solid for politics to shake.
President Nixon was so irritated at Wally Hinkle, who was, I think he was like pretty outspoken about opposing the Vietnam War, and was the Secretary of Interior. And so Nixon scratches out Interior and writes Commerce. NOAA's existence has never been authorized by Congress. NOAA was created with an executive order. A lot of people are like, why is NOAA in the Department of Commerce? Why isn't an independent agency like National Science Foundation or NASA or something like that? Well, those independent agencies have what they call is an organic act, which is a piece of legislation that authorizes their existence. So it's not like NOAA isn't authorized to exist. There's just no legislation authorizing it, but everything that NOAA does is authorized.
What would you tell NOAA employees or people that are even managing budgets within NOAA right now who are kind of freaking out?
I wouldn't worry about it. Your mission is way too essential to the U.S. economy and the safety of all the citizens. So, you're not going anywhere. Not to mention all these constituents that you serve also happen to be voters of members in Congress. So, you're going to have bipartisan support from Congress. I think a lot of these sort of vision documents need to be just looked at as vision documents. Like this is not like an implementation plan. This is kind of like a high level vision of, what it could be like, something to think about. And so it's always like, you've got these visions way over here on one side, you may have visions way on the other side. Reality of what you can actually pull off is probably in the middle.
And to go more in depth with Dr. Jacobs, including his thoughts on the role of private companies and the weather enterprise, just check out this week's episode of our podcast, of course, Off the Radar. You'll hear more about the environmental impacts of Project 2025 from a political scientist. Listen to Off the Radar anywhere you get your podcasts. And this past winter was unusually warm in many parts of the country. Experts say it has a lot to do with climate change. Michigan meteorologist Eric Castriva looks at the data to see how weather around the Great Lakes is being impacted.
Climate is what you generally expect, and then weather is what you get. So in a winter season, we expect cold, snowy weather, but yet last winter we saw warm weather and less snow.
And that winter season ended up being the warmest on record, leading to very few days we could safely get out on the ice to fish or enjoy some skiing at the local slopes. And while not every year is going to be like this, Jacqueline Anderson, a meteorologist at the National Weather Service in Detroit, says that it could happen more often.
In a changing climate, it means that we see more extremes. So it doesn't necessarily mean we're not going to see extreme cold in the winter. We're not going to see winters with above normal snowfall. It means we're probably going to see more of those extremes coming.
These extremes can go the opposite way, too, of what we just had a few months ago, meaning more devastating cold spells and higher ice concentrations across the Great Lakes. Even though we say the climate is getting warmer as a whole, our winters will still be harsh and long at times, as it could be this next winter with our switch to La Nina.
La Ninas are kind of more known for the cooler outbreaks across the Great Lakes, maybe a little bit more snowier, maybe a little bit more lake effect snow.
Weather data from the National Weather Service shows exactly what we have been experiencing recently. Warmer temperatures during the day and at night. But our changing climate also showed a shift in something that maybe was not expected. More snow over the recent years.
If we look at snowfall on an annual kind of perspective, the snowfall actually went up as well.
That new normal in snowfall for us being almost 5 inches higher year over year. At the end of the day, as our climate shifts around us, we will have to become more comfortable with seasonal shifts we are not necessarily used to. And the stories in the past of snow up to our waist from one storm or a whole summer of oppressive heat, those stories could potentially become more common over the next 100 years instead of a rarity.
Strong winds and severe weather can be dangerous. Two of the most damaging are tornadic winds and straight line winds. Meteorologist Josh Kozlowski shows us the difference between the two using a common kitchen appliance.
Well, lately in the news and weather becoming news, there's been a lot of tornado warnings and, unfortunately, confirmed tornadoes. I say unfortunately because it can cause loss of life, damage, and just a number of problems in different communities. But also, fortunately, they get confirmed because it justifies the warnings. Now, when there's straight line winds, severe thunderstorm warnings, the winds are coming down, or downdrafts in the storm, and causing damage at the surface. But with tornadic winds, the funnel is actually going up with the wind direction, and things are getting sucked upwards in the sky. Here's a model household kitchen blender filled with water, and I'm going to show you what it looks like having the funnel inside the storm. So it just shows on the outside of the water, the funnel there, it's all going up, whereas the inside is actually coming down. So there's a little bit of a downward motion, but inside the storm, it's really the intense updraft winds that are causing all the damage, and it touches down, it sucks things up in debris, property, vehicles, and more. So that's the difference between straight line winds and tornadic winds with severe storms. For the National Weather Desk and the Weather Authority, I'm meteorologist Josh Kozlowski.
We have all heard when thunder roars to head indoors, but did you know you are not immune to lightning strikes even in your own house? Meteorologist Joy Bettenhausen recently posted on Instagram about the dangers of actually taking a shower during a storm.
Well, we know we've been trained when thunder roars, go indoors, but is it safe to shower while there's a thunderstorm? Now, I remember my grandma, my mom saying you can't shower during a thunderstorm, use the bathroom, wash your hands, stand next to plumbing, any of that during a thunderstorm. Now, why is that? Well, water is a great conductor of electricity, and so are metal pipes. Even plastic pipes can be a good conductor of electricity. Now, electricity, especially when you get a lightning strike to your home, wants to find the path of least resistance, and it will continue that path until it reaches its destination, meaning it can travel all throughout your plumbing. According to the CDC, from 2006 to 2021, 444 people were struck by lightning, and about a third of those occurred indoors. So this is why, even though it's rare, this is why you don't want to take a shower during a thunderstorm.
And time now for a short break, but first let's take in views of Utah's Mona Reservoir.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Here's a swimmer you'd probably like to avoid during a summer dip. That is a black bear swimming in a Rhode Island lake. Otters are certainly less threatening than bears. These guys look like they were having a blast near Asheville, North Carolina. And it's hard to imagine a prettier dawn view than this one near Birmingham, Alabama.
Listen to Off the Radar, new episodes every Tuesday. Find it wherever you get your podcasts.
There are several different ways fog can form. Today we're going to take a look at something called upslope fog. Here's meteorologist Evan Chickbera.
Here's a look at Bald Rock. Goes up about 1,900 feet. One side of the mountain, we have the clouds, the fog. The other side, clear. Very cool. There is a weather explanation to why this happens. You get your winds coming, we call them upslope winds. In some instances, you can have rain. You can have thunderstorms on one side. Those clouds develop along the slope and near the top. That's exactly what you're seeing this morning. And on the other side, that sinking air warms and it dries out. So on one side, you've got dry conditions. On the other, you've got that really low cloud cover and a little bit of that fog. I love understanding why that is.